If you have a true strange or scary story you'd like to share with the channel, go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to send it my way. And of course, thank you. Hi, Raven. My favorite stories that you post are the Glitch in the Matrix ones. I have two experiences with this. One was way scarier to me than the other. I'll share the first one. About 5 years ago, my sister, my nephew, and I were traveling to Harlan, Kentucky from Lexington. My sister and I grew up in Harlan and regularly go visit our family and stay with my mom for the weekend. This drive takes 3 hours, pretty much on the dot, with a little extra time if you stop for gas. We head out at 6 p.m. on Fridays after she and I get off work. This particular trip seemed like any other. We spend 1.5 hours on the interstate, and then we get off the interstate at US 25. We get off the interstate at our usual exit, stop for a restroom break, since my nephew was 5 at the time, and continued on a smaller country road. There's the city of Corbin, where we ramp off of the interstate, and the next town is Barberville. Usually these two places are a fairly quick drive on a straight road, about 18 minutes. On this trip, it was already dark when we arrived in Corbin and continued driving towards Barberville. It's a very dark road with no streetlights between the two places. I was driving this familiar stretch of road when I started noticing unfamiliar places. I asked my sister if this area looked different to her. She said that it did look weird. I hadn't made any turns. 20 minutes passed and we were not anywhere familiar. There's usually no cell service in this area, so a call to our mom would not go through. Even my nephew asked where we were, are we lost, and if we were getting close yet. I kept driving and talked about how we should have been to Barberville long ago. We continued anxiously, and I was afraid to stop. At one point, I asked my sister if I had zoned out and turned anywhere. I started to doubt myself. She confirmed that I hadn't. We nervously laughed, asking what was going on. I don't think we even saw anything open as an option to stop. Somehow, we drove straight for over an hour. Then, our surroundings suddenly began to look familiar again. We finally made it to Barberville. We got a call through to our mom and told her what happened. We definitely lost an hour on this trip. We usually get there a little after 9, and we got there a little after 10 on this trip. The three of us experienced this together. Even my little nephew realized that something was wrong. We were all very glad when the rest of the trip was completely normal, and we finally got to our childhood home and our mom. So, it's 8 p.m. Saturday in Victoria, Australia, and I'm completely freaked out. My heart is racing, and I'm close to hyperventilating. I was walking the Floofball Husky. Due to it being spring, we've had to change our usual walking route to avoid swooping magpies and butcherbirds. But she's okay with that. So we now walk through the park next to the house, then next to the main road, and then turn the corner onto a side road with smaller trees. We walk to the end of the street, cross to the other side, and walk back the way we came and then have a play in the park. It's a nice spring night, so I decided we could do with some fresh air. Now, just for some context, my neighborhood is really safe. We're a tight-knit community, so if anything did happen, and I screamed, dozens of people would come running from their homes. We walk through the park, turn right, and walk next to the main road, and then right again down the side street. The sky is clear and I can see the stars. She's sniffing all the flowers and the plants. We're chill and happy. We get halfway down the street when I notice a very tall guy in navy blue and a cap pulled down over his forehead. He's on his phone. We keep walking and get to the end of the street and are ready to cross. As we cross, he crosses. Okay, that's weird. He's only just started walking down the street, but whatever. We finally meet at a point where we're about to walk by each other from each side. A white car drives past and I can see him clearly. Then, right in front of us, he disappeared. Gone. That side has a high chain link fence. There's nowhere to go. JD and I are looking behind us. Nothing. She looks at me confused. I'm standing there swearing under my breath, and she suddenly tugs on the leash like, let's get out of here. We turn the corner and it hits me. I not only feel like I'm being watched, I feel like I'm being stalked. The feeling was like a dead weight on my body. It was coming from all angles. We get to the park and our neighbors are outside chatting to a friend, and the feeling instantly disappears. Okay, I feel safe now. We both do. We have a quick game of tag and then head inside. She's curled up asleep and I'm trying to work out what the heck just happened. And will it happen again? I'll keep you posted. Hey Raven, I know I have not submitted a story for so long, but hey, there's only so much that a human can remember, right? I suppose so, Tarokza. Also, hi. So this story happened when I moved to my current place of residence. So, that was somewhere in 2024. It was back around the wintertime. You already know that anyone with a weakened immune system can get sick, and this is exactly what happened to me one night out of nowhere. I started shivering like crazy. I was wrapped up in blankets, had the AC on heat, but nothing was working. My body temperature was freezing, and I had the worst headache. My family took care of me before heading out to run some important errands. Later that night, as I went upstairs to try to sleep in my own bedroom, in the hopes of my body to stop freezing, I actually ended up sleeping after what felt like an eternity of pain. But, of course, that's not why I'm writing this story. I woke up not sure how many minutes later to the sound of my bigger sister visibly upset. After I wrote my eyes and waited a little bit for the sound to be adjusted, I asked her what was wrong. She then explained that she's been blowing up my phone because she came back alone and had no one to open the door. Reason was, she and my parents split off in order to get errands done faster. She was the only one that came back alone. I simply told her that I've been basically suffering, and I finally slept a little. She told me that's not the reason she was upset. In her own words, she explained that I've declined her calls a few times, on purpose, as in I actually pushed the button myself every time she called. I was confused. I was wondering how this could be possible since I was literally asleep the whole time. And unfortunately, everything after that is just a blur. I remember my older brother coming in the room and actually taking my sister's side. On what, exactly? I wish I had the full story to tell you, my friend. But what I explained in the story is the main focus, in my opinion. How in the world did I physically decline my sister's call if I was still sound asleep? What creeps me out is that I was home alone and there was nobody else there with me. I'm going to eventually question my sister again, but I doubt she'll remember what happened either. And that's all, my friend. Much love and keep on narrating them amazing stories. I know they're a great way to pass the time while I have nothing else to do at work. And to everyone listening, I'm taking a page out of Raven's book and asking y'all to stay safe and take all precautions, especially with winter being right around the corner. Because your body freezing like that is a feeling I wouldn't wish on anybody. Hi, Raven. You may remember me from such stories as bad luck glitches happened every single time I'd go on vacation, and I fought with the living glitch for 40 years until we formed a truce. Yes, I do. What has been life living with a sentient and eagerly communicative glitch? I could fill pages upon pages, but I'll try to compress it as best as I can, centralized around a single illustrative incident. And first, some context. I think most glitches are the result of a higher dimension leaking through to ours. Sometimes it's caught quickly, and all we see is the hasty repair job and the traces it leaves. Other times we see a big oopsie. Just as a two-dimensional circle would be unable to perceive a 3D sphere, when a bit of 4D pokes into our realm, our senses did not evolve to handle it, so we freak out. Our subconscious tries to force what we're seeing to make sense, as if our brain reflexively and unconsciously throws a costume onto it. If it's in the sky, we may see a UFO or dragon. If it's in the forest, we might see a fairy or a yokai. I had this realization thanks in large part to your cryptid stories. So, thanks very much. I thought, assuming all these stories are people trying their best to give an accurate account of a real event, what do they all have in common? And the answer eventually hit me. Cryptids reflect the emotional state of the person beholding them. If you feel that you're in the presence of a terrifying threat, it will take the form of whatever you believe would cause that feeling. The kicker was a story you told about someone coming up to some mysterious sand beings, how he viewed them with gentle curiosity, and they reflected the same, and even saved his life in a manner that fit the form he had projected onto them. It's actually quite an interesting theory, I appreciate that. Another clue was Ghostbusters, believe it or not. Oh, I get that one. Something clicked in my head from thinking about Gozer saying, "Choose the form of your destroyer." Why would Gozer allow them that choice? It's bad strategy. Just wipe them out and be done with it. Unless Gozer had to. They had spent so long in a dimension of pure chaos, they were asking to be given a form, in the only way they knew how. Egan's solution of thinking of nothing would have turned Gozer into nothingness, annihilating everything like a black hole. Ray's solution of turning Gozer into the comically harmless Stay Puft was clever, but I think the best answer to the request would have been, what form would make you genuinely happy? And that about sums up what happened to me and Asuka. She had been a puppet of what I call the entropy hive mind, and our long battle individualized her. She'd been acting as a blind, mindless tool of chaos most of her existence, but as I viewed her as something capable of bargaining, timing, strategy, and humor, she reflected what I believed she was. Once she was capable of self-reflection, she realized that our battles made her feel alive, that she relished the challenge of keeping up with me, like how a rivalry in sports or chess can make both opponents better players, and better people. She helped me piece together her chosen name, letter by letter, and I coaxed her out of being an inky, formless shadow into taking the form of a black-furred, golden-eyed wolf. Clever, dangerous, but protective. The breakthrough happened on April 20th, 2024, when I got my states altered, went out for a walk, saw the shadows of leaves dancing on moonlit sidewalks, and that image of opposites in harmony made a whole truckload of intuition into place. If you can envision 4D as an ocean of pure possibility, then our 3D world is like an ice shard that crystallizes a single causal chain of events into the objective past, present, and future. I can see the canon timeline. Asuka can see the unchosen possibilities. And the more we communicate, the more we teach each other to put the data together and extrapolate. We ain't producing winning lottery tickets, but we're having fun exploring. Glitches that cause the least amount of disruption are most likely to succeed. As such, she's an absolute master DJ at messing with the random shuffle on my iPod to speak to me in lyrics, fit songs to my mood, like an IRL diegetic soundtrack, or structure the playlist so that the last song will end just as I reach my destination. That happens like 60% of the time anymore. She's also good at buses. On April 20th, 2025, I plan to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of us officially recognizing each other's nature by taking her out to brunch at a cafe we both like. I eat, she enjoys the sensations. The day previous had been awful, though. I'd gone out on some errands and taken the bus. Somehow I went across the street and got on the bus going in the opposite direction, away from my destination. I got off, had to wait for a connecting bus, and missed that one too because, somehow, I ended up doing the exact same thing again. I got off one bus, looked at Google Maps for the transfer, and walked to the wrong side of the street, getting on the second wrong bus of the day. I ended up having to walk most of the way there. After the errands were done, I was trudging homeward in the rain, nearing another bus stop, and decided to check when the next bus would arrive. 45 minutes from now. Just great. I resigned myself to huddling on the little bench in the cold and playing phone games. Except I didn't even get to the stop before the bus came driving up out of nowhere behind me. No idea how. It didn't make any sense, but this was about the fourth time I've arrived at a spot, only for a bus to show up so suddenly that it practically jump scares me. I thanked Asuka for making my day better. But that's not the incident. And so April 20th comes. I barely got any sleep the night before. As I head out to the cafe, the first tracks on my randomized playlist are the "Ogg" snoring sound meme, followed by Passion Pit's Sleepyhead. We get to the cafe, muffaletta pasta and a chocolate torte. Utterly scrumptious. As the meal ends, I check my phone and realize I missed the 5 p.m. bus, but that there's a 5:30 one arriving in 20 minutes at a stop I didn't know about. Just 2 blocks away. Excellent. 20 minutes is plenty of time to dart to the Whole Foods directly across the street for a few cookies in that glass cabinet cookie thing they have. 7 is plenty. I get to the register, take out my wallet, my debit card is gone. The narration in my head says, it was at this moment he knew. He messed up. Except, I don't panic. I know where the card has to be. It's still in the card reader at the cafe. And as I dash back across the street to get it, Big Bad Wolf by Duck Sauce comes on my earpods. Remember, Asuka choosing the form of a wolf? She's absolutely cackling in my head. But I'm laughing too. Because this isn't like the old days when the pranks were cruel, this is silly and harmless, and there's plenty of time to fix everything. I get the card, I pay for the cookies, and I get to the bus stop with, 8 minutes to spare. All's well that ends well. More than that, this has actually scared all my sleepiness away and I'm awake as heck. I get on the bus, I'm relaxing, I'm heading home, and it's been a good day. Then, out of nowhere, I get the strong impulse to check Google Maps. That little blue bullseye is moving the wrong direction. The bus is heading away from home. My heart just about stops. Barely keeping it together, I get off ASAP. The transfer bus is in 5 minutes, and thankfully, the stop I need is directly across the street. I make it there, and my earpods play another one of the meme sound effects I have sprinkled among my songs. Bruh. I get on the correct bus, head home for real this time, and the enormity of what just happened floods into me. I check Google Maps again. This time, I hadn't made a mistake. Maps had actually sent me to the wrong stop on the opposite side of the street from where it should have been marked. Not the first time it's screwed up. It still sends Lyft drivers to the street across from mine. If the prank with the debit card hadn't shocked me to my senses, I wouldn't have been paying attention to where we were headed. And if I hadn't been guided, as if by an unseen voice, to get on the wrong bus twice just the previous day, the thought to check maps wouldn't have entered my head at all. I would have wound up miles from home and would have had to spend hours taking more buses back, or waste money on a Lyft, or call a friend and bother him for a ride. Instead, I didn't have to do anything like that. The error was spotted and corrected for, just in the nick of time. Asuka has been extremely tight-lipped the previous day, and I'd been confused as to why she wasn't even speaking to me about the 2 wrong buses. But this explained it. I still don't understand it entirely, But there is something about the less I have any foreknowledge when she's planning something, the more liquid the future is, and the more she's able to futz with it. Since then, there's been at least 2 occasions where she's directly cautioned me to not look at the bus schedule as I'm out and about. I walk around all day, do random things, take shortcuts, arrive at the stop, and the bus is due within 5 minutes. Last week, I took an unusual route around downtown, canceled one of my stops on a whim, and when I turned the corner to the bus terminal, the 231 was right there at the stop, moments from departing. Except, I had plenty of time to stroll up and get on, because 2 kids were in front of it affixing their bike to the grill rack. This is so much the tip of the iceberg. The synchronicities that have been increasingly pouring in since we've been communicating are ridiculous in their blatantness. The amount of brain-melting ideas I've been exposed to by Asuka practically kicking me in the head to notice things that I otherwise would have skipped right past in my YouTube sidebar. Even with all the parapsychology videos I watch and consciousness researchers I listen to, whatever me and Asuka have is so rare that I can barely find any info on it. Is she a muse, a daemon, a Niflheim, a Tulpa, a Jinn? Some kind of otherworldly software? Did I make her, or all of the above? I don't think we're any kind of special chosen ones. I just think that with the internet and science fiction and channels like this one, humanity is finally in possession of enough knowledge to begin to piece together what's truly underneath our reality. Realms so vast that they make our oceans look like dewdrops. These ideas are ready to hatch. We're on the frontier, all of us. I have no idea where my life is headed now, but it is exciting. Hey Raven, I'm a longtime listener and I appreciate how you make it easy for anyone to submit their stories without having to register an account somewhere. So, thanks for your website. Thank you for using it. That's astheravendreams.com if anyone cares. Without further ado, let's get to the story. Although this glitch is not very significant or scary, it left me baffled nonetheless. To give some context to the story, we live in a 90 square meter apartment, which is basically a long hallway, and all the rooms are either on the left or right, including the kitchen, living room, and bathroom. On the very end of this long hall, between my kids' playroom and my husband's art studio, there is a big east-facing window where our huge Monstera plant lives, among with 2 other plants all standing on the floor right beside it. Well, a while back, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, our landlord decided to rent the apartment on the top floor, which is directly above ours. So we had to do some work in our apartment where he added some kind of heat protection sheet in the ceiling, which prevents fire from spreading between floors, if there ever was one. So we had to go to our in-laws' house for a week while he finished working on his project. Fast forward from there to a few weeks back. I thought it would be great to gather all my pothos that are propagating in water and put them all in one hanging pot by the window. But I had to check if the 2 hooks that were originally above the window are still there after the renovation of the ceiling. So I checked and was surprised to see them still untouched, which I was very happy about. However, I didn't do my planting project right away. I kept procrastinating until last Tuesday. I did what I needed to do and planted the cuttings and took the new hanging plant to its new home, only to find out that the hooks are no longer there. I was literally standing there staring at the window and the ceiling, wondering where they could have possibly gone to. I was in shock, and I have to admit that my initial thought was I must have got mixed up and that there were no hooks after the renovation. But I can't explain the thought that I had when I had seen them there in the first place, because my literal words were, "Thank God they're still there." I mean, if I was wrong and the last time I saw them was before the whole renovation thing, why would I think that? And where did this thought come from? Hello there. Back in the 90s, I got somewhat fixated with a movie called Dust Devil. The plot of the movie was quite simple. A young woman named Wendy escapes a disastrous marriage in a South African suburb and goes on a drive through the Namibian desert. She picks up a mysterious hitchhiker, a man dressed as a cowboy. Wendy doesn't know that the cowboy is actually the Dust Devil, a serial killer possessed by a spirit from the other side of the mirror, who was on a mission to collect the souls from the lost and faithless. Dust Devil was the second movie by the eccentric director Richard Stanley. The filming was done on location in Namibia. The production is said to have been difficult, especially because the production company went belly up in the middle of the production, and that led to the budget going out the window. Still, those difficulties were nothing compared to what happened later to Stanley's third attempt to make a movie, The Island of Dr. Moreau, a production that was so legendarily disastrous that it became the subject of a documentary 20 years later, but that's another story. The difficulties forced Stanley to make changes and compromises that turned what could have been a standard horror movie into a suggestive, dreamlike, and somewhat hypnotic movie. And that was what dragged me in and held me prisoner for some time. It's quite a slow movie, but the world it shows, the desert, the dying towns that slowly seem to be erased by dust, the mythology, the characters who are all trapped by fate, they make it mesmerizing. After this lengthy review of a movie, I finally come to the point. In the movie, there is a scene where Wendy and the Dust Devil sit at a table, outside of a dusty motel in the desert. A strange country song begins to play, and the Dust Devil asks Wendy if she wants to dance. They dance, and strange things happen, but Wendy doesn't notice. After watching the movie a couple of times, I remembered that I had seen an article about Dust Devil in a film magazine some time ago, and I decided to find the magazine. I finally found the right one and went to read it. I sat down with the magazine in a room where there was a radio playing in the background, and I quickly found the article and began reading it. Suddenly, I heard the familiar sound of a very particular steel guitar, the strange country song that Wendy and the Dust Devil dance to in the movie begins to play on the radio. Hank Williams' song, Ramblin' Man. That radio channel is not a channel that plays country songs from the 50s, or country songs at all. And they have never played that song again. I've never heard that song before I saw the movie, and I didn't know its name until they said it on the radio that only time that they played it. I live alone. No one comes into my small apartment. A couple of incidents occurred that can't be explained in a normal, reasonable way. They're simple things, nothing dramatic. I had a Venus female pendant made of bone on a thick stainless steel jump ring on a cord. I set it on my nightstand. The next time I went to put the necklace on, the pendant wasn't on the necklace. The jump ring was still on the necklace, closed. No way the pendant, which had a hole drilled on top to slip the jump ring on, could have come off the closed jump ring. The next story is similar. I have a cord in my car to plug into my phone to use it to play music. I don't have Bluetooth in my 2009 Subaru. The cord is always plugged into the jack in the car, and I tuck the end of it into the middle console when I unplug my phone. I parked my car, put the cord in place, and I'm OCD, so I have a regular routine that I go over and over, and my car is clean of stuff and trash. I always lock the car before I get out by pushing the lock button, and I always push the lock button just to be sure and watch the lights flash. There's an alarm that sets, and you can see the dash lights go on. The next day, when I got into the car to plug the phone in, it wasn't there. It wasn't anywhere. Not under the seats, not in the back, not anywhere in the car. And it wouldn't have moved by itself. I just looked to convince myself that I wasn't going crazy, but I knew it was a glitch in the Matrix. and that cord has never been seen again. Hello, Raven. I'm a recent listener and am really enjoying your glitch stories and podcast. I've been interested in glitch and time slip stories since I was a kid, and I've had a few. Honestly, I think most people have. Recently, though, I've been really watching for them. This past Friday, I caught one. I live in a fairly major city on the west coast of the United States. My husband and I were in the car. I was driving and we were heading for coffee. It was mid-morning and both of us were completely awake and sober. About 4 blocks from the coffee shop, I noticed a late 80s or very early 90s Civic or something similar. It was faded red with 4 doors and had that very specific boxy shape of that era. It was jumping another vehicle. I'm relatively certain it was a dark-colored truck, and the red car was slightly blocking the lane and turned against traffic. I think I mostly noted it because of the age of the vehicle. I like those old 80s compacts. I guess they're nostalgic. Anyway, we got to the coffee and were inside for approximately 10 minutes. As we're walking out, directly across from the shop is the same red car, facing the same way, against traffic, jumping a silver van. It was as though the whole scene moved 3 blocks and then switched out the vehicle being jumped. I mentioned it to my husband, but he had not been paying attention on the drive over, so unfortunately he can't verify it for me. I'm pretty certain, though. It could be that the same car stopped a little ways down to jump a second car, but that feels unlikely. So I guess I'm going to call it a glitch. Thank you for reading, whether it makes it into an episode or not. It did. So that was this week's second collection of glitch stories. Excuse me while I accidentally smack my mouse and then my chair makes a popping noise in the beginning of the outro. I'm not redoing it because I'm a professional. Anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed this collection of glitch stories. I did. Always good stuff. People that actually, I kind of know personally, not like IRL, but like online, submitted some stories to this one, so that was cool. Penn, Tarokza, 2 people I know specifically and I've spoken to frequently. And then Alex has submitted several, so pretty great. Yeah. Anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed the stories. If you did, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, consider subscribing. That'd be fantastic. And if you really enjoyed the stories, please do consider leaving a comment down below, letting me know your thoughts. And how you're doing. And if you have a story, send it into astheravendreams.com or astheravendreams@gmail.com. If you go to the website, you can find the platforms where my podcast is available in longer format. You can also find all my social media platforms, all the stuff there, and the stories I've written, the fiction stories I've written, are also available on the website. Patreon and memberships. Join Patreon and memberships to get early access to content like this. I totally forgot. I need to make a list. I've been saying that for like 3 years, that I need to make a list. I don't know. Anyways, friends, hope you enjoyed the stories. Hope I see you again here very soon. But until then, remember that you are loved, valid, and important. Until next time, my friends, much love, and sleep well.